What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we are going to do a full story video. A full story video is when I sit down and take a bunch of videos that tell one overarching story and combine them together into one big video. Now, today's full story video is all about Batman Knightfall. Really, it's the prelude that leads into Batman Knightfall. Now, when it comes to Knightfall, it was one of the biggest events for Batman Comics. Really, one of the biggest events for DC Comics, the whole company. Now, with that being said, there were some books that led into the actual event that gives the idea of why Batman was not technically ready to fight against Bane and his forces, because Bane had a game plan and Bane made sure his game plan was going to work, but he caught Batman at the right time because Batman in the preludes was becoming physically and mentally drained. This man was not able to get a proper rest at night. And so because of that, and you had different characters being able to challenge him, he was not ready when Knightfall truly kicked off. And so with that being said, I do hope you enjoy the preludes that led into Knightfall. Here we go. What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to begin our coverage over Knightfall, one of the biggest, probably the biggest event of all time for Batman. Now, before we are able to properly dive into this huge event, we got to sit down and cover some preludes. And so, today's video, we're going to talk about Batman number 484 and 485. This is a two-part story arc where we do see the return of Black Mask in the world of Batman comics, but also we begin to see some issues when it comes to Bruce Wayne being Batman. Those same kind of issues are going to be brought up again in Knightfall. And so guys, I do hope you enjoy today's video. And so getting into today's video, we actually pick up with two guys right now setting a fire in a jewelry store. Now this may seem random, but really this is going to be used as a way to have Batman go up against Black Mask. Now, why you have the two guys trying their best to set the place on fire? Well, one of the guys leaves a mask behind, and that mask is going to help out Bruce Wayne a whole lot. Now, we kind of find out that the jewelry store is actually part of a bigger building that is properly owned by Bruce Wayne. You see, when it comes to Bruce, he owns a lot of buildings across Gotham, and you have different kinds of people running their companies out of those buildings. And so for Bruce, once he got word that there was a fire in one of his buildings, he headed straight over there to figure out what exactly happened. Now, he's going there as Bruce Wayne. And so you have all these different reporters wanting to know what exactly happened to his building. But unfortunately, he has no information at all. Now, that is the moment where he is confronted by Vicky Vale. Now, when it comes to Bruce and Vicky, we already know these two got a pass, and Bruce is still trying his best to kind of get with her. Now, when it comes to Vicky, she knows that this was not an accident at all. And no, this was not a robbery either. This was assault. Somebody was trying to come after Bruce Wayne. But the question is right now, why? Now, while you have Vicky telling Bruce that, you still have Bruce trying his best to kind of reconnect with Vicky. But she's like, nah, man, it's not going to happen. There's no way you and I will be able to pick up where we had left off at. But later on that night, you have Bruce head over to the jewelry store to do his own investigation as Batman. And he found a mask, and he knows that this mask can most likely help him figure out who is trying to come after Bruce Wayne. But now we have to jump over to Ravenswood Cemetery. And matter of fact, we pick up in Sionis family crypt, where we pick up with Black Mask. Now, when it comes to Black Mask, This is his first time being back in Gotham after being gone for a very good period of time. Now, we'll explain what happened to him in a previous story later on in this video because it's going to give us his actual origin. But for Black Mask, we see him currently trying to recruit different people into his actual organization. You see, when it comes to Black Mask, one of his many goals is to become the new crime lord of Gotham City. And so all these different people, they're going to join his organization, but they're going to be called the False Face Society. Each member must wear a mask because these masks are going to give them a new identity by getting rid of their old one. Now, one guy, Black Mask says, does not need one, and his name is Tattoo. And the reason why? Because he has tattoos on his face. But those tattoos give him a new kind of mask already. Now, when it comes to Tattoo, he is a great fighter, being able to take down different men who are already part of Black Mask organization. And once he does that, he now becomes second in charge of the entire organization. Gonna have to work very close to Black Mask. But now we have to jump over to Bruce Wayne in the Batcave. Now, when it comes to Bruce, he's still hoping to use the mask to figure out who was behind the recent fire. Now, for Bruce, he tells us that fire was not the first one. Matter of fact, it was the third one. And really, by the time he tells us that, he gets a call from Lucius, who then informs us and Batman there was another one, a fourth one. And that is very concerning. Now, something else I do want to mention is that around this time in DC Comics, Tim Drake was Robin for Batman. And that is really important for this video and other videos down the road. Now, for Bruce and Lucius, they are very concerned about these fires. And here is the reason why. Because in those buildings, you have different people who had leased out spaces to run their companies in those buildings. But now they no longer feel safe. And that is very important because now they could possibly leave. And Bruce has no income to actually pay for those buildings if everyone leaves to find a new spot to run their companies out of. And so this is Batman saying we have to move fast to figure out who in the world is trying to attack Bruce Wayne in his buildings. But now we see Batman and Robin head over to see Jim Gordon. Now, when it comes to Jim Gordon, he does inform our heroes that the most recent person to be able to break out of Arkham Asylum is the Black Mask. And so that tells Batman the possibility the Black Mask is the one behind these recent attacks. Now, something else I do want to talk about is that around this time in DC Comics, well, Jim Gordon was actually engaged to Sarah Essen. Now, Sarah is a very interesting character, and here is the reason why. She does not like Batman at all because he is a vigilante, but also because Batman goes against everything that Jim stands for as an officer. She hates the idea of her fiance spending any time with Batman, but most of the time she stays out of their way. But now it's time for us to dive into the actual origin for the Black Mask, because for Tim Drake, this will be his first time going up against the character. Now, when it comes to Black Mask, his real name is Roman Sionis. Now, just like Bruce, he had parents that had a lot of money. The only difference is that his parents died in a fire that was very suspicious. A lot of folks wondered that in the possibility that Roman had killed off his parents to inherit the company earlier than he was supposed to. Now, when it came to Roman, once he had the company, he basically destroyed it because he tried to launch a new face paint. It never catched on. He also spent a lot of money collecting different kinds of masks. But then the last move that he tried to do to help save the company was to release a new waterproof makeup. But that waterproof makeup did more harm to the company than he had expected. And really, the waterproof makeup is going to be very important for this origin story and the rest of the book. Now, once you had the company reach, well, the bottom, here came Bruce Wayne, being a hero, and decided to actually buy the company. And so here came the Wayne Foundation. Now, the Wayne Foundation, they said, listen, we can save your company, but you need a new board. And on this new board, we need to add people of our own on that board. But also, you can no longer have control of your company. And Roman did not like that at all. He was very upset. And that led to him becoming the Black Mask. And matter of fact, he went after the new board members with that waterproof makeup that I talked about earlier. You see, when it came to the waterproof makeup, it did some severe damage to people's faces, but also it released toxins into your actual pores, killing you from the inside out. And so when it came to Black Mask, he went after those new board members, killing them off one by one as a way to get back at the Wayne Foundation, because he felt like they took everything from him. Now, the last piece of his actual origin goes back to the idea of him becoming the Black Mask. Because like I said earlier, for him, when you put on a mask, it gets rid of your old identity. And so for him, he tried to burn down everything from his past inside his family's home. Now, Batman tried to stop him, but you had Roman run back into the flames, which then allowed the mask he was wearing to be burned to his face permanently. And so that is how he became the Black Mask. Now, when it comes to the Black Mask, he tells his guys that he wants a lady by his side. And so he tells his guys, go out there and find my ex-wife. Now, when it comes to his ex-wife, she was a face model, and her name was Cersei. Now, when it comes to Cersei, like I said, she was a face model, but her face was ruined by the same product that he was pushing. This man ruined her entire career, but his guys, they find her and say, listen, the Black Mask, he wants you back, but also he has given us a mask to give to you as a way to hide what happened to you. And just like that, she goes back over to the Black Mask. Now, when it comes to Roman, we also see that he was able to recruit somebody new, and his name is Skullface. Now, when it comes to Skullface, this man is motivated to move up the chain in the actual organization. But for Roman, he has to know if he can trust the guy. And he says, listen, here is your first assignment. Go with those two guys to complete the assignment and then come back here. If I find out you did a good job, then I know that I can actually trust you and help you move up. But this next section gives us confirmation that it was the Black Mask who was going around setting the different buildings on fire as a way to get back at Bruce Wayne for buying his company. Now, when it comes to Skullface, Skullface is really Bruce Wayne in disguise. And so when you had the three guys arrive at the next spot, their assignment was to burn down this actual building that also belonged to Bruce Wayne. But then you have Skullface change to Batman and take the other two guys down. But we also kind of find out that Lucius Fox has been hiring bodyguards to help protect the buildings. The problem is the bodyguards that he are hiring, they work for the Black Mask, giving them free access to the buildings to actually burn down those buildings. And so you have Bruce tell Tim, you gotta tell Lucius to stop hiring guys until everything is secure again. And so then you have Batman change back into Skullface to go back to Black Mask to tell him what happened on this assignment. Except when Batman goes back to the Black Mask and tells him, hey man, listen, my team was taken out by Batman. Well, we kind of find out that Black Mask has a hostage, and the hostage is actually Lucius Fox. Now, the reason why you had the Black Mask take Lucius Fox is to use Lucius as a way to get to Bruce Wayne. You see, for Black Mask, he cannot take any accountability for his actions. He truly blames everyone else for why he lost the company, even though it was his own fault. fault. Now, for Black Mask, he wants to use Lucius as a way to get to Bruce Wayne. And Bruce is right there, but Bruce must continue to pretend to be Skullface so that he can bring down Black Mask from the inside. Now, when it comes to Black Mask, he's getting tired of Lucius, and he wants to kill him off here and now. But you have Cersei, the ex-wife to Black Mask, say, no, do not kill him, because if you do, you then lose your chance to actually get at Bruce Wayne. And you have Black Mask realize that she is right, and she lets him live. Now you have Skullface, which is Bruce Wayne, take Lucius Fox over to a different part of the building. And he also tells Lucius, hey, it's me, Bruce, aka Batman. You gotta play it cool until I am able to bring down Black Mask, but to also free you as well. And so you have Skullface, Bruce Wayne, go over to Black Mask and say, listen, I have different ways to make the man talk if you allow me to actually talk to him. Now, when it comes to Black Mask, he said, fine, if you have ways, we'll use those ways. But for right now, I need you to go with Tattoo to a meeting. And once you come back, we'll then continue the conversation of you being able to work Lucius. Now, when it comes to Robin, he does meet up with Jim Gordon. Now, when it comes to Robin, he informs Jim that Batman is on the inside of the organization for Black Mask. Now, for Jim, this is great, but Jim wants to go ahead and raid the warehouse that Black Mask is currently using and bring everyone down. But Batman told Robin to tell Jim, no, you have to wait until tomorrow at 10 o'clock. That's the time Batman chose. Now for Jim, he does not like that at all. And this begins the process of Jim beginning to lose his trust into Batman, because Batman is no longer trying to work fairly with Jim Gordon. Now, getting back over to Batman, he's still pretending to be Skullface, but you have Bruce and also Tattoo arrive at a meeting where you have the two of them talking to other members of Black Mask organization. Now, when it comes to Tattoo, he does inform everyone that Black Mask is done with arson. It's now time to move in the other operations that Black Mask has set up. Now, one of the members of the actual organization is not wearing his mask. And matter of fact, he tells Tattoo that he doesn't have to. And Tattoo does not like the idea of anyone breaking the rules that Black Mask had personally set. And so he beats down on the guy. Now for Bruce, while watching Tattoo work, he realized that Tattoo is really a very skilled fighter, probably up there with Batman at his prime. And so Bruce is somewhat worried about the idea that he might not be able to handle someone like Tattoo. Now you do have Bruce and also Tattoo head back over to the main headquarters for Black Mask. Now you do have Bruce leave for the night, but after he leaves the room, you then have Black Mask ask Tattoo, what do you think about that guy? Now, for Tattoo, he says, listen, he's not a cop, but he's something, and I have no idea what it could possibly be. Now, the entire time they had that conversation, Tim was listening in. But you do have Tim and Bruce meet on the rooftop of the base of Black Mask. Now, when it comes to Tim Drake, he kind of agrees with Jim Gordon. Why not go ahead and bring down the entire organization right at this moment? But this is Bruce wanting to be careful, wants to make sure that they are able to bring in the Black Mask and not possibly lose him in the big battle. Now you do have Batman go over to see Jim Gordon. Now when he arrives, well, Sarah's there as well. And again, you have Sarah basically mention that she does not like Batman at all. But now you have Jim kind of going on her side, because again, Jim is very upset that Bruce is not giving out any kind of information at all, especially with the idea of where Black Mask is currently hiding out at. But at the same time, is Jim saying, I don't feel like we're actually working as a team, because here you are going out there doing all these different things, but you're not telling me. And also, we have the perfect time to bring down the entire organization and you want to wait on it? How is that fair that we have to do everything that you want to do and not what I want to do? But either way, you have Jim try his best to continue on to trust Bruce Wayne, Batman. But after that meeting, you then have Batman go back over to where Tim Drake is at. And Tim was still watching the Black Mask at his hideout. But you have Bruce say, go ahead, go home, get some rest, I'll stay here and continue to watch over him overnight. Now, this is going to be one of the many examples that really shows that Bruce Wayne is not taking care of his body properly. And you see what I mean as we go through our coverage in the next few videos. But you do have Bruce being able to watch over the warehouse until Tim comes back the next day. But you then have Tattoo head over to his apartment. Now, when he does, we see him retrieving somebody that apparently he kept inside his apartment. And this person's name is Rambo. Now, Rambo is going to be very important at the end of this story. But now we see Batman's plan begin to fall apart, because the following day we see Bruce arrive back at the headquarters of Black Mask. But Black Mask is now trying to convince Lucius to help out to bring down Bruce Wayne. But Lucius is trying his best to not help out Black Mask to bring down Bruce Wayne. Now it gets to the point where you have Black Mask wanting to shoot Lucius, and for Bruce, he has no choice but to go ahead and blow his cover to protect Lucius. But here's the problem though, because you had Tattoo being able to attack Bruce from behind, and while doing that, you didn't have Black Mask realize that Skullface this entire time was Bruce Wayne. Now, here's the problem. The police are not going to move in on the warehouse until 10 o'clock, and unfortunately, it's not 10 o'clock yet, and so Bruce must find a way to hold out until 10 o'clock truly hits. Now, luckily for Bruce, you have the ex-wife of Black Mask going out of her way to protect Bruce, and then Bruce is able to drop a smoke bomb. Now, with the smoke bomb, he is then able to get away and change into Batman, and Black Mask now knows that Batman is there, but does not know that Bruce and Batman are the same people. Now for Black Mask, they have to get the heck out of there. And so you have him and Tattoo just run away. Now Bruce, he chases after Tattoo and Black Mask. But the rest of the organization, they stayed at the warehouse of Black Mask. And luckily for Bruce, as soon as they left, well, him, Tattoo, and Black Mask, 10 o'clock hits. And so now the GCPD can go ahead and raid the warehouse. But it's up to Batman to bring down Tattoo and Black Mask. Now, let's not forget that earlier, when it came to Bruce Wayne, he told us that he believed that Tattoo was up there on his level, that Tattoo is just as a great fighter as Batman. And so when it comes to Batman, when he's able to corner Tattoo and also Black Mask, Tattoo has no choice but to protect his boss from Batman. And so the two begin to battle. Now at first, Batman is losing his fight big time. Tattoo is able to beat down on Batman. But at the same time, we already know that Bruce is not really taking care of his body properly. And so giving bad guys the advantage over him. Now, after a few pages, you do have Bruce being able to bounce back and take down Tattoo. Now, his last target is Black Mask, but unfortunately, he does not have enough energy to chase after Black Mask. But you do have Black Mask just jump into the bay. But at the end of the book, you do have Bruce being able to meet up with Jim Gordon. Now, for Jim, he does inform Bruce like, hey, we were able to grab most of the organization, but also grab Tattoo as well. Now for Batman, he believes that the GCPD were able to send in divers to go get Black Mask out of the waters. And you have Jim say, well, we did find a Black Mask, but not the Black Mask. We didn't find Roman, we found somebody else. Matter of fact, his name is Rambo, the guy we saw earlier in Tattoo's apartment. And apparently Rambo works for the Wayne Foundation, and he went missing a while back. And hey, they found him, he's dead, but he was pretending to be Black Mask, which means the real Black Mask is still out there and has the ability to become the new kingpin of crime for Gotham City. The war continues on between Batman and Black Mask. But this is where what's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over Batman Knightfall. Really, we're covering the preludes that lead into Batman Knightfall. Now, in our last video, we had discussed the idea of the Black Mask coming back into Gotham City. Now, when he did that, he gave Batman an actual challenge. But at the end of that video, we saw that the Black Mask was able to get away. And because of that, Batman now feels like he is a failure. Now, with that feeling, it's going to carry over into today's video, where we're going to see Batman push himself even farther to kind of prove that he's not a failure, that he actually is a good hero, but also he needs to make up for his mistake by allowing the Black Mask to get away. And so the first chapter that we are going to cover is going to be Batman number 486, where we actually pick up with Bruce Wayne still being Batman. Now, this is a Batman who still hasn't gotten any kind of rest since our last video after failing to stop the Black Mask. This is a Batman who is now going to push himself even farther until he is able to find the Black Mask somewhere in Gotham City. Now, for Batman, he has a broken nose. The rest of his body is screaming out for some form of rest. But for Bruce, it has to wait until later. He has to make up for his mistake. He has to find the Black Mask. Now, while you have Batman out there trying to find the Black Mask, well, somebody else is also looking for him. And that would be a new character making his first appearance in DC Comics. And that would be Metalhead. Now, the way he looks and the way he acts, I'm sorry guys, this is a D-list character. And matter of fact, he looks ridiculous. But he is so eager to find the Black Mask that, matter of fact, he's going around to different bars in the area, you know, usual criminal bars, to ask the thugs in there, do you know where I can find the Black Mask? Now, when he asked them, they make fun of him because the way he looks. But that is a huge mistake, because if you do make fun of him or try to do some, you know, funny jokes towards him, he gets very upset and use his different weapons to stab you and do some severe damage to your body, and then walks away in hoping the next person will give him the information that he's looking for. Now, getting back over to Bruce, he did go back to the Batcave, where he is confronted by Alfred, who is trying to bring him some kind of meal. Now, here's the thing. From Alfred, we do find out that Bruce has not been resting, has not been eating. And matter of fact, when Alfred sees Bruce, he realizes that Bruce has a broken nose, and that nose needs to be fixed. But for Bruce, he cannot rest. He cannot stop. He has to continue on to find the Black Mask. And now it's making Alfred very worried for his son, you know, because he looks at Bruce as his son. But for Alfred, he's very concerned for Bruce Wayne. Now, something else I want to remind you guys, that around this time in DC Comics, Robin was Tim Drake. He was the current Robin around this time. Now, for Tim, he wasn't adopted by Bruce just yet. He still lived with his father, Jack Drake. Now, when it comes to Jack, he just came back to America after being taken as a hostage and going through a very huge moment in his life where his wife died, and also he was severely injured that now he has to go through physical therapy. And so for Tim, he's very concerned for his father, but also is Tim trying to make sure to keep his promise with Batman. Now, once you have Tim being able to arrive at the Batcave, you have Tim and Alfred sit down with one another to basically talk about how the mind of Bruce Wayne truly works. Now, for Alfred, he believes that when it comes to Bruce Wayne, the reason why he is out there just pushing himself so hard is because that's what humans usually do for different activities. We're always trying to find a way to push ourselves past a certain limit for an activity. So for example, Steph Curry, a basketball player, he's out there right now trying to push his body past its limit to help his team win a certain game. But for Bruce, it's crime fighting. Now for Tim Drake, he feels like no. He feels like Bruce Wayne is obsessed with the idea of trying to make up for what he failed at, which was stopping the Black Mask. But for Alfred, he does not feel like that Bruce Wayne is obsessed. Instead, for Alfred, it's more of Bruce Wayne only knows how to be Batman, only knows to be Batman, and that is it. Because you have Alfred saying, listen, there's Bruce Wayne and there's Batman, but Bruce Wayne has all that help in the world to help run his company. And with all that help, that gives Bruce more time to be Batman. And that's the problem right there. Bruce only knows how to be Batman. And so that explains why, when it comes to Bruce Wayne right now, why he's out there trying to find the Black Mask. Because the only thing he knows how to be is Batman. He does not know how to sit down and take care of his body. He does not know how to use his other side, the Bruce Wayne side, to find the Black Mask. He only knows how to be Batman. Now, the rest of the first chapter is really more Batman fighting against Metalhead, because Batman heard about him and heard that he is also looking for the Black Mask. And so for Bruce, if I'm able to find Metalhead, then maybe I'll find the Black Mask as well. Now, that plan does not work out, but you didn't have Metalhead tell us why is he looking for the Black Mask. And the reason why, because he wants to join the Black Mask organization. But either way, you do have Batman fight against him. Now for Bruce, this is not a fair battle because his body has not gotten any form of rest at all. He is tired, he is exhausted, and his body is still aching in pain from the previous story. And so for Metalhead here, he technically does have the advantage. He should be able to take down Batman. Now, we already know that Bruce is going to win for two reasons. One, because this guy is a D-list character, but two, because Batman is once again going to push himself beyond his limits to be able to take down Metalhead. And when he does, the day is saved. But luckily, he was found by Alfred and Tim, and they take him back home, hoping to get him to take some kind of rest. But now we have to jump over to Batman number 487, where we pick up with Bruce, Alfred, and Tim arriving back at the Batcave. Now, when they do arrive back at the Batcave, you do have Alfred and Tim trying their best to help Bruce up the stairs into his bed. But Bruce, he wants no help at all. As a matter of fact, he wants to be left alone in peace. But he does tell both Alfred and Tim that tomorrow he'll go see a doctor. Now we jump over to a nearby prison in Gotham, where we actually pick up with a character known as Morelli. Now when it comes to Morelli, he was a criminal that was just put away recently by Jim Gordon. But now you have Morelli going out of his way, telling one of his guys, listen, I have a lot of money in a certain location. I need you to get that money and put out a contract on someone. A contract, of course, on Jim Gordon, the guy who had recently put me away. Now, when it comes to Bruce Wayne's doctor visit, you have the doctor tell Bruce that, listen, we ran the test and we can see that you are okay physically, but here is your downfall. You're not okay mentally. You see, when it comes to the doctor, he's telling Bruce, like, listen, your body is working perfectly fine, but if you don't give your mind the proper rest, then your mind cannot tell what's right and what's wrong. And so right now, your mind is telling your arms, telling your legs, telling your hands that they're in pain, but in reality, they are perfectly okay. You are exhausted. You are stressed out. You need to give your body the proper rest, your mind the proper rest, so that your mind and body can work together perfectly. Now for Bruce, he's kind of not really listening to the doctor. To him, it has to be his body, because for Bruce, he's just too sharp for his mind to fail him like this. And so Bruce walks away promising that he will get some kind of rest. Now, with that contract being out there, we are introduced to another character, and his name is Headhunter, an assassin who came to Gotham to complete the contract, to kill off Jim Gordon. Now, when it comes to Headhunter, he is just like, you know, Metalhead, a D-list character, but going to be used to give us another example of Batman not properly being ready to be Batman because he's not getting the rest that he should be getting. But either way, you do have Headhunter here saying, you know what, I'll take the contract and I will kill off Jim Gordon. Now, when it comes to Jim Gordon, we see him and his new wife arguing with one another. Now, by this point, he was married to a woman known as Sarah. Now, in our last video, we had discussed the idea that Sarah does not like Batman at all because he is a vigilante and he stands for the complete opposite of what Jim Gordon stands for when it comes to handling the law. But apparently, she wants Jim to stay home for the night. But for Jim, he does not want to stay home at all, and so he leaves. But we have no idea what is the actual origin point for their argument. Now, something else I do want to mention is that around this point in our story, it has been a week since the last time Bruce was Batman. So at the very beginning of this chapter, that was a week ago that Bruce was Batman. By this point, it has been a week later. And so you have Bruce telling Tim and Alfred that it's time for him to go out as Batman once again. He took a week off. But for Alfred, he says, listen, Bruce has not taken a week off properly. He did not give his body enough rest. And so for Alfred, he is very worried about the idea of Bruce going out there as Batman. Now, when it comes to Bruce, he does go out there as Batman, but when he does see the bat signal in the sky. Now, usually for Batman, when he does see the bat signal in the sky, that tells him, okay, it's Jim Gordon calling for help. But when he arrives at the GCPD, he does not find Jim. Instead, he finds his wife, Sarah. Now, for Bruce, he is very confused on why in the world she is here for, but she then tells us that she needs Batman's help, even though she hates the man a lot. And here is the reason why. So earlier we saw Jim arguing with his wife, Sarah, and here is the reason why. Jim found out there's an assassin in Gotham right now looking for him. That assassin would be Headhunter. And the word on the street is Headhunter is one heck of an assassin. Kind of like Bullseye or Deadshot in DC and Marvel Comics. Headhunter does not usually miss at all. If he has you in his sight, he will take you out with one single shot. And so for Sarah, she is very concerned for Jim because when Jim found out, he said, fine, you know what? I'm going to do my best to find the assassin and bring him in by myself. And so you have Bruce realize that his friend Jim is in grave danger trying to go up against an assassin like that. Now, when it comes to Headhunter, he does have Jim right in his sight. And it does look like Jim is about to die here at this exact moment. And so when it comes to Headhunter, when he takes the shot, he actually misses. And the only reason why he missed because Jim moved over just in time for him to miss. Now for Headhunter, he is very upset in the idea that he did miss, but it gave Bruce enough time to arrive there as Batman and then go one-on-one with Headhunter. Now the battle is really short-lived, like maybe 2 or 3 pages, but you do have Batman being able to take down Headhunter just like that. But it does bring up one big question. If Bruce was able to get the proper rest like he was supposed to, is it possible that he could take down Headhunter even easier than he did right now in this battle? But that question will go unanswered. Either way, Jim is able to go back to Sarah and then go home with her, knowing that now he is okay again. So now we have to jump over to Detective Comics number 654. Now, with this issue right here, we get introduced to another new character. But this new character is going to be somewhat important to the world of Batman comics down the road. And matter of fact, this character would become somewhat popular to a lot of fans of Batman comics down the road. But for right now, we go with Batman fighting against a group of thugs. But while he is doing that, we have our new mysterious character talking to us, the readers, about Batman. How this mysterious character finds Batman very intriguing. He's very impressed by Batman because he sees Batman usually by himself out in Gotham, protecting Gotham by himself. Because around his time in DC Comics, Dick Grayson is not around. Jason is dead. Batgirl is now Oracle, and Tim just became Robin. And so for him, he's not out there as much as he would be down the road in later books. And so most of the time, Bruce is out there being Batman by himself. And so for our mysterious character, he's just so impressed to see Batman being this Dark Knight, being able to take down an entire group of thugs by himself without any kind of struggle. Like, yes, he did struggle, but not as much as other people would if they try to be Batman without the right equipment and skills. But now it's time for us to meet our mysterious character, and that would be Ulysses Armstrong. Now, when it comes to Armstrong, he is going to be very important in later books down the road. Now, in the opening pages of this book, it's really more of him telling us his origin story. And he starts off by telling us that he was sent over to a military academy because his parents had no idea what to do with him. Now, after he arrived at the academy, well, unfortunately, he was easily picked on by the other kids at that academy. And so for him, the only way to escape from all that cruelty was to read a bunch of different books. But here's the catch. All the books he read was about war, or the different leaders in those wars, and how they won different battles in all those different wars. And this man read hundreds and hundreds of books until he basically read them all. And so after doing that, he decided it's time for him to leave. And so he burns down the entire academy and most likely killed everyone in that academy, but then head over to Gotham because now his goal is to be one heck of a leader, to take over Gotham City, but to also take down the Batman. Now, for Ulysses, he realized that even though he's now in Gotham and he wants to take over Gotham, he needs an army. And so he goes after the weakest gang. And here's the reason why. The weakest gang is the easiest to take over. Now, this gang is called the Bingle Street Gang. Like I said, the weakest gang in Gotham. And he just walks into their hideout and says, listen, I'm now your new leader. Now, for these guys, they're like, who is this punk kid? And why in the world does he believe that he has the ability to take over our gang? And he says, because I can promise you a bunch of weapons. And just like that, they are instantly down to follow him to figure out if he is able to get them a bunch of weapons. And really, he was not lying because he then takes the gang over to the National Guard Armory in Gotham City. Now, as soon as they arrived, they are able to take over the entire building and then be able to load up a bunch of weapons. His plan worked perfectly. Now, there was a leader of that gang who's kind of like, yes, you may gave us a bunch of weapons, but I'm still in charge of this gang. And you have Armstrong pull a gun out and kill the leader of this gang and says, no, you were the leader. But the problem was this gang was getting nowhere when you were leading them. But now they will, because I'm gonna take over. And just like that, he now has his army. It's small, but he is now going to build it up. Now, because of that recent robbery, you didn't have Batman go over to Jim Gordon. Now, for Batman, he already knew what Jim was gonna tell him about what happened the previous night with Armstrong. But now you have our two guys wondering, is this going to lead into some kind of terrorist attack? They have no idea what Armstrong is planning. We know because his main goal is to take over Gotham. But for Bruce and Jim, they're kind of like, we don't know what he could possibly do here. Now, when it comes to Armstrong, after being able to recruit, his new army, he realized that they can't stay their old hideout because the cops are going to figure out where that hideout is at. And so they go to a new location way in the outskirts of Gotham City. But now their goal is to bring in more members to the actual organization. Now, at this point, they begin to call Armstrong the General. And matter of fact, he loves the name a lot because that's the name you give to a leader. And right now, he is trying to be that leader. Now, for the General, he knows that for him to be able to take over Gotham City, he has to begin the process of taking out other gangs in the nearby areas. And so his main goal is to go after the weaker ones first. And so we see him and his guys going after another gang. Now, while doing that, Batman and the GCPD arrive to hopefully stop them. But here's the problem. You see, when it comes to Armstrong, him and his crew, they got the good weapons. They got some powerful weapons, and those weapons are being used easily to take out the other gang, to take out the GCPD, to almost take out Batman as well. Batman gets shot a few times, and so he is now severely injured. He has no choice but to go ahead and retreat and to allow them to escape. But it really shows that when it comes to Armstrong, he got a plan here, and his plan has been completely thought out. Like, he knows how he wants to strike, how he wants to take over Gotham City. And the last page of the book really shows what he has planned for Gotham. So first, take out the other gangs and bring those gangs into his own gang. Also, he's going after the Black Mask because he realized the Black Mask has the ability to become the next crime lord of Gotham City. But also, he has to make sure the police fear him. They have to be scared of us and not try to come after us. And then finally, they gotta take down the Batman. He has to die. But this What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over Batman Knightfall. Now, we're at the point where we're still covering the preludes that lead into the actual event. But now we get to the point where you have Batman bringing Azrael into the Bat family. But on top of that, Bane has finally arrived in Gotham, and he's now going to watch and study the Batman. Now, the opening pages of this book does a great job into bringing in Azrael into the Bat family. And really, you have Bruce telling Tim everything he needs to know about Azrael, because by this point, Batman already met him. there was a story that we have skipped over, better known as Batman's Sword of Azrael, where Batman met the character and learned everything about him. Now, I might go back and actually cover that story and go ahead and throw it into our coverage over Knightfall. Now, when it comes to Bruce, he tells Tim Drake Azrael's real name is John Paul Valley, and he belongs to an organization known as the Order of St. Dumas. Now, when it comes to Azrael's for that order, they only get called upon when somebody had crossed the line with the actual order, because Azrael is supposed to be the avenging angel. Now, when it comes to John Paul Valley, his father was actually Azrael, but he was shot and basically died in the arms of John Paul Valley. But before he died, he said, son, it's time for you to take up the mantle. Now, for John Paul Valley, it was really an easy transition, and here is the reason why. So when it came to his father, he technically implanted these subconscious thoughts about how to be Azrael and how the order actually works. So when time comes, he can just easily fit into the role and just take up the mantle. But that's the problem right there for Batman. You see, when it comes to the Order of St. Dumas, when they call upon Azrael, their angel, to go after somebody, they really mean kill that person off. Now for Bruce, he realized that Azrael is a great fighter, but he cannot be a killer and be part of the Bat family. And so his goal is to use his skills and Robin's skills as teachers to basically teach Azrael to become a new kind of fighter, somebody who does not kill. And so is Bruce saying, Tim, I need you to take Azrael out for the night and kind of show him how we work to begin the process of breaking away of how he used to be, thanks to the order. Now, something else I do want to mention is that when it comes to Batman, with these preludes that we are actually covering, we've seen Batman trying to push himself past the limits, meaning that this man is usually always exhausted after being Batman, but more than usual, where he basically collapsed while trying to get back up to the manor and going to bed. He couldn't even make it up the steps because this man is not giving himself proper rest. Now, when it comes to John Paul Valley, he's going to work for Bruce Wayne as a security guard at one of his buildings. You see, when it comes to Bruce, he owns a lot of buildings across Gotham. And some of those buildings he uses them for different kinds of projects for his actual company. And so for John Paul Valley, it's going to help out in one of those buildings. Now, for John Paul, his role is to protect the printers. Now, that may sound really crazy, but let me explain. So when it comes to the company, they do allow copies to be made for different blueprints for different projects, but those copies have to be approved. And once they are approved, then yes, John Paul Valley can use a key to turn on the printers to allow a person to use the printers. And that's going to be his role right now in the company. Now, you're kind of wondering, why in the world did I go in so much detail for this small section? You'll see why here in a moment. But now I want to jump back over to Bruce Wayne, and here is the reason why. So earlier I told you guys that when it comes to Bruce, this man is having a hard time, realizing that he needs to take proper rest for his body. And so earlier we saw him collapse on the steps that lead up into Wayne Manor and most likely to his bedroom to get some rest. And so because he collapsed right there and just fell asleep, you had Alfred appear, and Alfred finds Bruce and he is so worried for Bruce Wayne. But for Bruce, he's kind of like, listen, I understand you're worried, but I know I'm okay and I know what's best for me. And honestly, I don't need your help or your food right now. So just leave me alone. I'm going upstairs to finally get some kind of rest. But now we can jump back over to John Paul Valley. Now for John Paul, he's going home for the night. back to his apartment that was given to him by Bruce Wayne. Except when he arrives there, it's Tim Drake. And Tim says, listen, so Bruce tells me I have to show you the ropes of what it's like to be a hero in Gotham City, to show you how we work in Gotham City. So I'm gonna need you to change into this outfit. You are not gonna wear your usual Azrael outfit, but also I'm gonna show you how we can save lives without actually killing people in Gotham City. And so we do see Tim Drake and also John Paul Valley go out as the Knight as Robin, and I guess you could say as Zor-El. Now, while you have the two characters out there, they're gonna follow a character known as Tony. Now, we technically saw Tony earlier. He was one of the guys in the room requesting a copy that John Paul Valley's boss had to approve. Now, for Bruce, he felt like there was something up with Tony, and so he asked Tim Drake to kind of follow Tony for the night to make sure that he's actually a good person working at Wayne Enterprises. And so you have Tim and John Paul Valley follow Tony over to a warehouse where we kind of find out that Tony is actually working the Skulls, a small bikers gang in Gotham City. Now, when it comes to the Skulls, they actually have a client right now at this moment who wants to know what Bruce Wayne and his company are working on. And so when it comes to Tony, he was supposed to steal copies of a certain project and hand those copies over to the bikers gang so that they can give those copies over to their client. So their client can then beat Bruce Wayne to different deals where people are offering big, huge money for those different kinds of experiments or projects or whatever. And so for the bikers gang, they're very upset at the idea that Tony was not able to bring those copies home earlier. And so you have Tony say, hey man, listen, they got a whole system right there in that company where you are definitely unable to even leave with just one copy of the actual blueprint. And so you have the biker gang say, you know what? We'll just break into the place. That's the best way for us to actually be able to get our hands on those copies and then hand those copies over to our client. Now, Tim and John Paul Valley, they overheard the entire conversation and they now know they gotta stop this gang before they're able to get their hands on those copies. Now, the rest of the first chapter is really more of Tim Drake and John Paul being able to work together to actually take down the gang. But there is a problem. You see, when it comes to John Paul Valley, he is so used to ways of how he fights. He's not used to the ways of how Tim Drake and Batman fight. So, for example, when it comes to Tim, he told John Paul, we don't go in until we remove all the guns out of their hands. But for John Paul, he automatically just goes right in, even though most of the gang members still have guns. But Tim and John Paul, they're able to bring down the entire gang and also Tony. But for Tim, he's kind of wondering, you know, this might take us a little bit longer until we're actually able to break you. But at the same time, we did do a good job working together. But also, at the very last page, we do see Bruce Wayne calling up a doctor known as Sandra Kinsolving. Now, when it comes to Sandra, she's great at physical therapy. And matter of fact, at this time, she was also helping out Tim Drake's dad as well. And so for Bruce, he feels like with her being his physical therapist, she may be able to actually help him in his body, and maybe he will no longer feel so exhausted and weak and also in pain all over his body. Now, the next two chapters that we have to talk about deals with a character we just met in our last video, better known as Ulysses Armstrong. Now, when it comes to Armstrong, he is technically a young boy who was at a military academy, but unfortunately, he was always picked on by his fellow classmates. And so because of that, he stayed in the library, reading different books about different leaders over the years who were able to win big battles in different wars over the years. And so for him, it led to him saying, you know what? I can do the same thing. And so his current goal is to take over Gotham City. And so in our last video, he was able to take over a small gang and give that small gang enough weapons to actually take down other gangs in Gotham City. Now, he does have a master plan, and part of that master plan is to take out Batman as well, so that he'll be able to take over Gotham properly. And so we dive into Detective Comics number 655. Now, in the opening pages for this book, we actually do pick up with Batman. And this is still a Batman who is very exhausted. But again, he has to continue on. He has to protect Gotham. And his main goal right now is to find the general in his game, because he heard what they have done so far in Gotham. Now, he's currently watching over a different gang in Gotham known as the Runners. Now, the Runners are one of the deadliest gangs in Gotham, but he feels like whoever this new gang is, they have enough courage to actually take on the Runners. And really, Batman was right, because out of nowhere, here comes the general. Here comes his army of thugs attacking the home base of the Runners, and they were not ready for this kind of attack. And on top of that, when it comes to the general, again, he has weapons that are way advanced for a regular gang, and so he actually has the advantage. And matter of fact, he's able to find the leader of the Runners, better known as Bojack. And so it does get into the point where you do have the general being able to surround Bojack with his men. And most likely it looks like that you're gonna have Bojack dying here. But luckily Batman arrives. Now, in the middle of the battle, Bojack is able to grab the general and make him a hostage. Now, for Batman, he really can't wrap his head around the idea that this young boy is actually the leader of this new gang. Right now, all he sees is a young boy being a hostage, and he has to go out of his way to save the young boy. Now, it does get to the point where you do have Batman see Bojack throw the kid off the rooftop. And so Batman has no choice but to also jump, but hoping that he'll be able to get there in time to grab the general and save his life, which of course he is able to do. Now, after being able to save the general, you have Batman slowly getting back up after kind of crashing hard to a random balcony on a different building. But because he was not watching his back, you have the young general grab something to hit Batman right in the back of the head. And Batman falls straight down to the ground level, hitting the ground really hard. Now, for the general, that should killed off Batman. He believes that Batman is now dead. He believes that he just accomplished one of his goals, because when it came to the general, he had all these different ideas of how he was going to take over Gotham City. And one of those ideas was to take out Batman. And just like that, he believes he has done it. But Batman was able to get away and head back over to the Batcave. Now, we do get another scene where you have Batman go back home, and this time he is bleeding a lot. And for Alfred, once again, he's worried about Bruce. But once again, you have Bruce tell Alfred, leave me alone. I know what's best for me. I know what to do next. I don't need your help. And really, I don't need you to worry about me. And so for Alfred, once again, he has no choice but to go ahead and back away. Now we jump over to the general, and when it comes to the general, he's out there celebrating right now with his crew because they were able to complete 2 parts of their 4-part plan. Take out the Runners, take out Batman, take out the police, and take out Black Mask. Tonight, they were able to take out 2 people in that 4-part plan, the Batman and also the Runners. But now it's just Black Mask and the police. But here's the thing though. See, they found somebody who was going around claiming that he works for the Black Mask, except he tells the general, listen, nobody has seen the Black Mask since the Batman battle in our first video for Knightfall. And so because of that, it's the general saying to himself, okay, you know what? If nobody has seen the Black Mask, it means two things. One, he left Gotham, or two, he is most likely dead. Either way, the Black Mask is no longer in my way to complete my goal, to take over Gotham City. And so now that only leaves one more part to my plan. Take out the police department. But now we jump back over to Bruce Wayne. Now this is Bruce going undercover and pretending to be some kind of homeless person and hoping to find some kind of information about who is the actual leader of the group that's going around attacking the different gangs. And really, it takes him a matter of minutes, maybe hours, where he overhears the same name over and over again. The general, the general. And so for him, now he knows who is in charge. But the question is, how can he find the general? And so you have Bruce being able to take down two gang members who were going to jump him, but he used his Batman skills to take care of them. And once he does that, they're all like, okay, listen, if you're looking for our boss, he is currently holding up at the food center. You go there, most likely you should find him. And Batman heads there quickly. Now, once you have Bruce arrive at that food center, unfortunately, he's a tad bit too late. They already left the place. Matter of fact, they cleared out. They don't plan to go back there at all. And so for Bruce, he is very worried what this could possibly mean. And really, he already knows what it means. They're going to attack somebody else very soon. He finds their plans. He looks over their plans. And once he does, he realizes that, oh my God, this boss, this general, he is almost a perfect leader. He has thought out every single thing when it comes to their next attack. And right now, they're about to attack the police department. And so getting into the final chapter for today's video, we actually pick up with the general and his army beginning to attack a police precinct. Now, this one right here in this area of Gotham is kind of like the weakest one because they don't have a lot of officers working there. So it's real easy for the general and his army to be able to actually take over this building, but also they're going for the weapons, they're going for the drugs, they're going for the prisoners as well. Everything inside of there can be used in some kind of way to help them be able to do more things in Gotham down the road. But luckily you have Batman appear. Now, once he does appear, this is where you have the army realize that their boss, the general, did not take care of Batman, that he's still around. And so that goes against their plan because remember, Batman was like part 4 of their plan. They had to get rid of the Bat if they were going to be able to take over Gotham. And now he's here again. Now they do attack the Batmobile, but here's the thing. Batman's not there. Matter of fact, he has it on autopilot. And so he's outside the actual vehicle and he's getting inside the building to hopefully take down the general. Now, once you have Batman being able to get inside the building, we get the opportunity to see what the officers were trying to do as a way to hold the building, to hold the line against the general and his army. But the problem is, they couldn't do much because the general, his army, they have advanced weapons. Those weapons made it hard for the officers to even hold the line. But unfortunately for the general and also the army of his, Batman appeared and Batman was able to help out the officers. Now, but there is another problem. It's Batman. You see, when it comes to Bruce, he looks at the general as a child who needs to be reasoned with, a child who needs to sit down and have a conversation with. This child may have just one bad day, and that explains why he has gone down this wrong path. But the problem is, Batman is trying to do that before being able to properly stop the general. And so when you have the general play this "I'm scared, I'm sorry what I did" card, Batman actually feels bad for the child and then gets stabbed by the child. Now, once you have Batman realize where he's at fault at, he's all like, you know what? That was the wrong move. I need to take him down, and then later on, I can try to work with him, or somebody else can try to work with him. And so you actually have Batman being able to stop the general and hand him over to the GCPD. But right after you have Batman being able to take down the general, he had no idea that he was being watched by a character named Bird. Now, Bird actually works for Bane, and this is Bane trying to study the Batman, getting ready for the big battle against Batman that we're going to see in Knightfall. And so this is Bane saying, if he struggled with someone like that, the general, I wonder how he does with someone like the Joker or somebody from the upper class of super villains. And so for Bane, he's almost ready to jump into Knightfall. Now, the last page of this book, it shows Alfred heading over to the room of Bruce Wayne, hoping that Bruce would be in bed, and he'll leave the food by Bruce's bed to say, hey man, once you wake up, eat his food and you should be better. Except when he turns around, Bruce is not in bed. Bruce couldn't even make it to the bed. Matter of fact, he collapsed on the chair in his room, just knocked out cold. And Alfred realizing that this is really not good right now, that Bruce needs to slow down. But this is where What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over Batman Knightfall, and really, we're covering the preludes that lead into Batman Knightfall, and this should be our last video that actually leads into Knightfall. Our next video should be the early chapters of the actual event. Now, with that being said, remember that this is a Batman who is mentally and physically drained. And the reason why, because this man keeps trying to push himself past a certain limit that his body and mind can actually handle. And the reason why, because he's trying his best to protect Gotham, to be there every night to protect Gotham. But also because he's trying his best to balance the life of Bruce Wayne and the life of Batman as well. And that's the problem right there. Because when he tries, it just gets too out of control. And so now he's physically and mentally drained. Now, he also has a hard time getting some sleep as well, because every single time he tries to rest, he believes that he's wasting time not being Batman to help protect Gotham. Now, something else I should also mention is that Bane is out there already. Bane is studying Batman, trying to understand who Batman truly is, so that when the time comes, he'll be able to take the man down. Now, the first book I want to cover is Batman number 489. Now, this book right here is where we see Bane really introducing himself to the Bat family, really just Robin and Azrael. Now, when it comes to Bane in this chapter, he does break the arm of Killer Croc. Now, when it comes to Killer Croc, the world believed that he was dead for the last 6 months. And here's why. So 6 months ago, there was this great flood across Gotham City where all the tunnels just flooded with water. And so when it came to Killer Croc and Batman, while they were battling, the flood hit the tunnels, washing away Killer Croc. And everyone truly believed that he had died in that great flood. But here we are now, 6 months later, and we see that he is, well, somewhat okay. Now, when it comes to Killer Croc, he's now having visions of his past, and that's a huge problem. You see, when it comes to Killer Croc, he has this medical condition where he slowly turns into a crocodile over time. And so because of that, over the years, he had always been picked on by his peers. And so when it comes to Croc, as he's just walking around trying to find food or whatever, he keeps seeing visions of his past where he was picked on, hated on, laughed at. And so because of that, he's always enraged. He's always getting mad at the smallest things happening near him. Now we jump back over to Bruce Wayne, and you have Bruce meeting up with Sandra Kinsolving. Now, we have talked about Sandra before. You see, she's currently helping out Tim Drake's father in physical therapy, and really, it was Tim who told Bruce, hey, why don't you go pay a visit over to Sandra? Maybe Sandra can actually help you when it comes to the idea of helping your mind and body relax. And so you have Bruce pay her a visit. Now, Bruce tells her like, hey, my mind and body, it is screaming out for me to rest. But unfortunately, I cannot rest. Now, he also says that it could be his anxiety. He's at an all-time high now because he is so worried about so many different things that he feels like he can't rest until he actually take care of those things. And so for Sandra, she says, listen, I'm going to give you some meds. Those meds should just knock you out instantly and help you rest and hopefully help your mind and body heal. But after that, we got to sit down and talk to one another and actually work through your problems, because if you're not able to work through your problems, those anxiety attacks are going to stay around. They're going to keep happening over and over and over again, to the point where your body and mind will no longer be able to get the rest like it should. And so you have Bruce agree to work with her to get him back on track. Now, getting back over to the Killer Croc plot line, you have Killer Croc that's out there causing havoc across Gotham, because every single time somebody sees him, well, they freak out and run away because how scary he looks. But also, he keeps having visions of his past, where you had all these different people make fun of him, were scared of him, or just rude to him. And so anytime an innocent person just walks away or runs away, he gets angry and starts throwing things across the city. And it's being reported on all news in Gotham City. Now, Bane is seeing the news, and Bane wants to know everything about Killer Croc. Now, Bird, one of his lackeys, tells him like, hey, Killer Croc tried to become a crime lord in Gotham City. And at first, it seemed like he might be able to actually achieve it. But Batman stepped in and took him down. And for Bane, it's kind of like, if Batman is able to take him down, then I have to prove to myself and others that I can do the same thing as well and take down the Killer Croc as well. But like I said earlier, we're gonna see Bane being able to introduce himself to the Bat family, but not to Bruce Wayne, to Robin and also John Paul Valley. Because remember, right now, when it comes to Batman, he just met Sandra. She gave him medicine. So when it comes to Robin and Alfred, they're watching the news. They see Killer Croc on a rampage, but they can't ask Bruce for help because he took the meds and homeboy's out like a light right now. And so it comes down to Tim Drake. But here's the problem though. You see, for Tim though, he realized that if he goes out there by himself to take down Killer Croc, other bad guys are going to wonder, where is Batman? Is he no longer around? And it could bring more chaos into the actual city. And so for Robin, he turns over to John Paul Valley and say, hey, John Paul, I need you to wear this outfit. You are going to be Batman for tonight. Now, when it comes to Robin, John Paul Valley, Batman, and also Bane, they all arrive at the same time, but really Batman and Robin get there first, which means they're the first ones to go up against Killer Croc. And that is a huge problem because it really shows that John Paul is not truly ready to become Batman just yet, because when he tries to go up against Killer Croc, Croc is able to take down John Paul Valley. Now, you could say the reason why he failed is because while fighting against Croc, he saw Bane on one of the TVs in a nearby store. And so when he saw Bane on that TV screen, wondered who in the world is that guy right there? He got distracted, which didn't allow Killer Croc to move in and grab John Paul Valley and almost take him out. Now, the reason why I say almost is because you have Bane arrive. Now, once Bane arrives, it's just him and Croc going at it. And really, it's more of Bane being able to beat down on Croc. But Croc truly believes at first that he should be able to take down Bane because he He almost took down Batman in the past multiple times. And matter of fact, he just took down this Batman right here. So he has all the confidence in the world to go up against Bane. That was a huge mistake. Guys, let me tell you, Bane said, son, let me show you why I'm called Bane. This man beat down on Croc. This man broke Croc's arm and said, that's why I'm Bane. And that's why you should not came at me like that. And you have Bane show that he is actually capable to take down Killer Croc just like Batman did in the past. But really, he did a better job. Now, we could all say Bane got lucky. Why? Because he used Venom to make himself stronger. But at the same time though, Bane did take down Croc in a matter of seconds. But the last page of this chapter, you have Bane turn around and say, I know that you are not the real Batman. Once the real one comes back, that is when I'll come back and basically deal with you guys. But for right now, I want nothing to do with you because you're in the outfit, but you're not the man who holds the mantle at this moment. But now we have to jump over to Batman number 490, where we actually pick up with Bruce Wayne waking up after taking the meds. Now, when it comes to Bruce, he realized that his body is not completely rested. Like, yes, he did get a good night rest, but his body is still not completely healed up yet. But also because the medicine, he still feels a tad bit drowsy. But he also realized that the bat signal is up, which means he's being called for assistance. Now, let's not forget that earlier, John Paul Valley was pretending to be Batman to help out Tim Drake. And so you have John Paul and Tim heading over to where Jim Gordon is at, except they're stopped by Bruce Wayne. Because Bruce says, listen, I want to say thank you for helping me out, but I also want to inform you that Jim Gordon will figure out that you're not me in a heartbeat. So John Paul, go ahead and go back home. Tim and I will go meet up with Jim Gordon. Now, once you have Batman and Robin arrive, you do have Jim inform them that, hey, listen, the Riddler is back. Now, when it comes to this Riddler story, it's not really about the riddles. It's really more of Bane continuing to study Batman, to test Batman. And so now he's going to use the Riddler. So while you have Jim telling Batman and Robin like, hey, the Riddler is back, and so while you have Jim telling both Bruce and Tim about the Riddler, you have Bane and his crew listening in from a distance. Now, when it comes to Bane, he says, listen, I'm going to study Batman. I'm going to allow Batman to figure out the riddle. But after that, I am then going to make Batman fight against the Riddler, who will then be pumped up with a lot of venom to see if Batman is able to handle someone who's on venom. Now, you do have Robin inform Batman about Bane by telling him like, hey, listen, I met this guy named Bane. He automatically knew that John Paul Valley was not you. But on top of that, he is looking for you. And for some reason, it seems like he wants to take you down. The reason why, we have no idea. But he's coming after you. Now, you have Bruce tell Tim, okay, you know what? Thanks for telling me, but now I need you to go ahead and go home. I'll take care of the Riddler by myself. And he drives off. Now, getting over to Riddler, we see that the Riddler had set bombs across this certain building. Now, while doing that, he is confronted by Bane. And when it comes to Bane, he injects the Riddler with venom to enhance his strength. Now, when it comes to Riddler, he wants to know, who the heck was that guy? But Bane leaves before giving all that kind of information. Now, after Bane leaves, you then have Batman arrive. And Batman realized that there are bombs across the building. But of course, his main goal is to take down the Riddler. Now for Bruce, he believes it should be an easy task. But the problem is though, it can't be, because now the Riddler has been injected with venom. His strength has been enhanced. He is now able to kind of go toe to toe with Batman. And really, he has the advantage over Batman because Bruce is still drowsy. Bruce has not gotten a complete night of rest to let his body and mind heal like it needs to. And so you have the Riddler being able to take down Bruce. Really, it's the Riddler saying, I gotta get out of here because right now my bombs are about to go off And I do not want to be here for that. Now, you do have Bruce being able to defuse the bombs, but after doing that, he finds something on the ground, a needle that has some venom on it. And for Bruce, he knows about venom. Now, we have Bruce head over to the Batcave, but once he does arrive in the Batcave, you have Bruce being able to look over the needle to say, yes, on the needle there is venom, because Bruce remembers a time where he was actually hooked on venom. You see, there was a story arc called Batman Venom. Now for Bruce, while in the Batcave, he does get a call from Sandra. Now when it comes to Sandra, at first she does call to be a good doctor to make sure that he's okay, but then she also believes that the only reason why Bruce chose her to be his doctor is because long time ago he gave her a scholarship to go to school. Now you have Bruce say, yes, I did give you a scholarship, but I didn't choose you to receive that scholarship. I made the program to give the ability to kids go to school, but I left that program over to Lucius Fox. He was the one who had chose you to receive a scholarship to go to school to get your education. Now, the reason why I chose you to be my doctor is because Tim said you were a good doctor and you were doing an amazing job when it came to, well, his father. Now, this begins the process where you have Sandra beginning to, kind of fall in love with Bruce Wayne. Now, the following night, we do see the Riddler once again send out another riddle. And so you have Jim Gordon in the GCPD call up Batman. Now, while you have Jim and Bruce talking to one another, Bane and his crew are listening in. Now, for Bane, this time, it's time for him to test out his crew. He said, hey guys, listen, I want to see if you guys are actually able to figure out the riddle. If you are able to do that, then I want to know if you guys are able to take down the Riddler. See if you are able to accomplish this before Batman can actually pull it off. Now, we already know that when it comes to Bane's crew, they're not really able to beat Batman to the punch. And really, by the time they arrive there, you have Batman finding the Riddler once again. And you have Bruce once again having a hard time taking someone down like the Riddler, who's now hooked on venom. But at the tail end of the battle, when it comes to Bane crew, they kind of want to play a message where they were able to figure out the riddle. Yes, they were late, but they still have the chance to take down the Riddler before Batman does. Now, their way to take down the Riddler is to just gun him down. Shoot a bunch of bullets at the Riddler to bring him down. And so in their minds, even though Batman did solve the riddle before they did, they were the ones to actually bring down the Riddler. Now you do have Bruce go ahead and call for an ambulance because this man needs one in a hurry. Now, when it comes to Bane's crew, they do inform Bane that they were not able to solve the riddle before Batman was, but they were able to bring down the Riddler before Batman could. And so for Bane, they did not completely fail, but they were also not completely successful either. Now for Bane, he says the Riddler was just too easy for Batman. He needs something bigger, something harder to test Batman with. And so then you have Bird appear. Now Bird is one of the members to Bane's crew. And he says, listen, I got an idea. Why don't we break into Arkham Asylum and bring out all the prisoners that he has stopped, and let's cause a frenzy across Gotham City. It's the proper way to test him out, to see what he can actually do. And that should give you enough information on what to do with Batman. And so now we have to jump over to Detective Comics number 657. Now, the opening pages of this chapter, we see once again an exhausted Batman, a Batman who needs to rest. But that's the problem. He won't rest. Now, this is Alfred saying, I had enough. I am tired of you going out there trying to be Batman, but not taking the proper rest that your body actually needs. You know what? You are not going to be Batman for a couple of days. I need you to be more Bruce Wayne than Batman these next couple of days. And you're gonna do that. And for Bruce, he's kind of like, okay, fine. You know what, Alfred? If you want me to be Bruce Wayne, I'll be Bruce Wayne for a couple of days. Fine, you'll get your wish. Now, we jump over to a new character, and his name is Cypher. Now, when it comes to Cypher, he has the ability to hypnotize people by playing music. Now, when it comes to the musical track that he is playing, he's also playing a message inside the track, a way to hypnotize people, to have them under his control. And so when we jump over to this character, we see him right now using that technique on somebody to have this person commit suicide, to jump off a building. And of course, that person crashed hard and died. Now, when it comes to John Paul Valley, when Bruce Wayne brought him over to Gotham City, Bruce made sure to give John Paul a job and a life away from the Bat family. And so he said, hey, John Paul, you are going to be a security guard. And John Paul took the job very easily. But the problem is, when it comes to John Paul, he wants a high-risk job. And so he overheard that one of the buildings that Bruce owns, better known as Wayne Plaza, had a couple break-ins in 1 week. And so for John Paul, he feels like he's better suited for that kind of job right there because it's a high-risk job. And then maybe he'll be able to catch the ones who keep trying to break into that building. Now, when it comes to John Paul's boss, he says, listen, you were assigned here with me, and you are going to stay here with me until they tell me something different. Now, that is the exact moment where you have Bruce Wayne arrive with Lucius Fox. Now, for John Paul's boss, he said, listen, here comes the big man. You got to act right. But he had no idea that the reason why John Paul got the job so easily as a guard without any kind of background check is because he knows Bruce Wayne very well. And for John Paul's boss, he does not like the idea of one of his employees having close ties with the owner of the entire company. It shows that he is heavily protected. Now, when it comes to John Paul, later on that night, he does change into his vigilante outfit. And matter of fact, he does meet up with Tim Drake. Now, he tells Tim Drake that he got word that somebody has been trying to break into Wayne Plaza twice this week. And he feels like him and Tim should be able to handle this kind of situation as Azrael and, well, Robin. Now, when you have the two characters arrive at the building, well, they find out that somebody has just broke into the actual building. And so now it's up to them to bring down the bad guys in Wayne Plaza. Now, when it comes to Bruce Wayne, he is trying to be, well, more like Bruce Wayne. And so you have Bruce meeting up with Lucius Fox. Now, when it comes to Lucius, he wants to use Bruce to help secure a government contract. And technically, when it comes to Wayne Enterprises, they already have the contract. But the problem is, they only have a third of the contract. Let me explain. So when it came to the government, they're working on a new kind of project called Echo. Now, when it comes to Project Echo, they cut the project up into 3 different parts and gave each part to a different company. And Wayne Enterprises is one of those companies. And so Lucius is hoping to use Bruce as a way to talk to the higher-ups to get the other 2 parts over to Wayne Enterprises to get more money. And so that's going to be Wayne's goal for this chapter. But I want to jump back over to Azrael and Robin as they go inside Wayne Plaza. Now, once they're able to get inside there, they realize that it's just 2 random thugs who were able to break into the place. Now, I want to focus on John Paul here because John Paul is Azrael, but he was part of the Order of Saint Dumas. Now, when it comes to the Order of Saint Dumas, if they had sent their avenging angel, which is Azrael, at you, you're most likely going to die, because that means you had crossed the line. And again, they call him his avenging angel. They want revenge for what you have done to them. And so for Azrael John Paul Valley, he was their latest angel. Now, before him was his father, and his father was a cold killer, but his dad died, and so that led to John Paul becoming the next Azrael. But his dad made sure that his son would be ready to take up the mantle. And so over the years, he did different things to get John Paul Valley ready for the actual role. But the problem is, he is a killer. There's a killer version of himself inside his body. And sometimes that killer version pops out. And sometimes he tries to kill people. And so once you have Azrael and Robin be able to take down the two thugs, well, it gets to the point where you have John Paul try to kill off one of the thugs. Now, luckily, Robin was there to stop him and said, dude, you are not a killer. You're no longer part of the Order of Saint Dumas. You're now part of the Bat family. And luckily, he was able to listen to Robin and step away. But this man almost used a saw to cut off the head of one of the two thugs. But getting back over to Bruce Wayne, you have Bruce failing at being able to accomplish the task that Lucius had given him. The idea of being able to bring in the other two parts of the contract. Because you have the government say, listen, the reason why we have this big, huge contract given to different parts is because we want to make sure that it stays top secret. That each company only knows about what they are working on and not what the other two companies are working on. It's a way to make sure it stays top secret. And so you have Bruce realize that it does make a lot of sense, but now he feels like he had wasted time being Bruce Wayne, that this time could have been used to be Batman. But the problem is, this guy does not understand that the reason why you're so exhausted, the reason why you are mentally and physically drained is because all you do is be Batman. And you don't try to manage your two different lives and actually get rest as well. Now, getting back over to Cypher, you have Cypher once again using his ability to hypnotize people on another person to make someone else commit suicide by walking into ongoing traffic. So that person is literally dead. But the question is right now, why does he keep doing that for? But now we have to jump over to the GCPD because I want to focus on the one of the robbers we saw earlier that broke into Wayne Plaza. And here's the reason why. So you have Harvey Bullock and Renee Montoya talking to this one burglar about what happened tonight when it came to fighting against Robin and Azrael. Now for Bullock and also Renee, they believe that they were stopped by Batman and Robin, not Robin and Azrael. And you have the guy say, listen, I was technically tackled down by this new guy named Azrael, but this dude is crazy. He almost killed me. And for Bullock and also Renee, they're kind of wondering, who is this new vigilante in Gotham City? And what could he possibly do down the road if he continued to show that he's a tad bit crazy? Now, the final chapter for today's video, we got to jump over to Detective Comics number 658. Now, this final chapter does jump around between different time points. And here's the reason why. So in the first page, we pick up 15 minutes from the past, or from the present day, sorry. And we see Batman and Robin rushing to reach Lucius Fox. And we have no idea why they're trying to get to Lucius before something bad happens to him. But then the next page, we jump 10 minutes ago. So 5 minutes after the last page, where we see Lucius Fox right now on a bridge, about to jump off the bridge. And once again, we see Cypher using his ability to hypnotize people. And right now, he's trying to control Lucius to commit suicide. But once again, why is Cypher doing this for? And so now we have to jump back way in the past, so 18 hours ago, where we pick up with the FBI stopping by the GCPD to collect the two guys they caught earlier that Robin and Azrael stopped in the last chapter. Now, we're not told why the FBI came into the GCPD's building to take these guys away, but for some reason, these guys are now very important for a case the FBI is trying to build. But 2 hours after that, you did have Wayne Enterprises get raided by the FBI. And the reason why? Because the FBI believes that Bruce Wayne's company is somehow responsible for the death of the two guys we saw earlier that was killed off by Cypher. Because those two guys were actually presidents of the other two companies that was working on the government contract in the last chapter. And so because of that, the FBI feels like that Wayne Enterprises did something to get rid of the other two guys so that they will be able to get the other two parts of the government contract. And right now, their main suspect would be Bruce Wayne or Lucius Fox, the other president out of three companies. But 1 hour after that, we pick up with Bruce Wayne having a conversation with Alfred. Now, this conversation is really, short, because you have Bruce telling Alfred, hey, I need you to message Tim to tell him tonight Batman and Robin are going out. Now, for Alfred, he's kind of like, wait a second. You told me earlier that you were going to take a break from being Batman, that you were going to be more Bruce Wayne than Batman. But you have Bruce say, listen, a new thing did pop up, and I have to handle it as Batman rather than Bruce Wayne. Now, when it comes to Bruce, when he kind of delivered that message, it was very cut short. Like, hey, I know what I said to you earlier, but right now I have a new problem that I have to handle. And honestly, I'm getting tired of you trying to tell me what to do with my life. I know what's best for me. Now, for Lucius, this is just too much for him to handle. And so right now we see him in his office just trying to take a small nap. But while doing that, he begins to play music. And guys, music is very important for Cypher because like I said earlier, when it comes to Cypher, when it comes to him playing music around his victims, there is a message being played on that track with him saying a few words as a way to hypnotize people. And so when it comes to Lucius, he's currently listening to music. But on that track that he's currently listening to, there's a message inside of it. And right now, it is slowly beginning to hypnotize him, to allow Cypher to actually take over his mind. Now, 3 hours from the present moment, we do pick up with Batman and Robin meeting up with Azrael. Now, this is Batman saying, hey, John Paul, you work as security in my building. I want to know, has anybody strange walked into the actual place? And he says, yes, there was one guy. He looked very creepy, but we thought he was just a repairman. But now I'm thinking about it, he could have done something to Lucius. Now you have Bruce say, okay, John Paul, go back in the building, go to Lucius' office to find any kind of clue of somebody trying to do something at Lucius. Because Bruce realized what is happening right now. That basically Cypher is going after the three presidents of the three companies that was working on this government contract. And the thing is, before he kills off each of those people, he is able to collect all kinds of information about the contract. Because once he has all three parts of the contract, he'll then be able to give that information over to someone else in a different country to make a lot of money. And so right now, the last company up right now is Wayne Enterprises, which is Lucius Fox, the only president alive out of all three companies. And so you have Bruce say, Me and Tim here, we're going to find Lucius and we are going to shadow him while you, Azrael, look through his office. Find any clues that can help us to find the bad guy for this situation. But by the time Bruce figured everything out, he's already too late, because now 2 hours from the present moment, we pick up with Lucius Fox leaving his house, and his wife and daughter, they're very concerned for their husband and father, wondering where in the world is he going. But he is so short with them, they're kind of freaked out how he responded to their questions. But now we know that technically at this moment, he is under Cypher's control and going to a certain location. But after that, you have Bruce Wayne call up his wife saying, hey, I am trying to find Lucius. Where is he? And she says, you just missed him. He just left. But when he left here, he seemed very worried. What is going on with my husband? Now for Bruce, he has to lie to her because he knows that her husband is most likely in danger, which means that sooner or later, there is a possibility that he could die. Now, the rest of the book is really more of Batman and Robin arriving what they believe just in time to actually save Lucius. But in reality, they were just a tad bit too late. He did jump off the bridge, but luckily for our heroes, Azrael was nearby to grab Lucius and to bring him back over to the bridge safely. And you didn't have Batman and Robin being able to take down Cypher. And with that happening, that really wraps up the prelude of Knightfall. And so now we are able to jump into Knightfall properly and get into the most craziest, wild Batman event of all time. But with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.